All right, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. So we're gonna be just doing a little bit of drawing. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's go ahead and do it to it, really. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be just slowly adding color. Just slowly adding color. Nothing too fancy. I'm going to be very loose. And then after I get like the first layer on, that's when I'm going to dial it in, up the intensity, I guess, the intensity of focus a little bit, the intensity of observation, tighten up my visual lens of sorts, the metaphorical visual lens, and then we'll go from there. But I am just going to be kind of adding a little bit at a time. And I don't want to go too fast because I have a habit of going like either too fast and applying too much pastel in one sitting. So I am going to just slowly kind of like dab the colors on here. Just slowly dab the colors on here because for a few reasons, I don't want to over apply the pastel, but I also want to kind of leave some of the tooth of the paper present. Sometimes near the end of the drawing, I like to keep some of the paper present. And if you go too aggressive with your application of pastel, it's not game over, but you're going to lose out on some of the nice qualities of the paper, like having some of the tooth of the paper kind of shine through the back of the drawing. And there's something kind of pleasing about that. So I am going to just kind of very lightly apply a small application of pastel. This isn't even like very light. It's just light enough for me, for how I like to approach. I'm assuming there's other artists that really go with a very like feather touch on their pastel, you know. And I'm not saying that I have a feather touch, but it's not. It's probably lighter than normal, or at least I think it is. I don't observe a lot of other pastel artists. I think in relation to like people that have just started playing around pastel, in regards to them and relating to them, I think I have a much lighter touch, and that's just because I have a little bit more experience. You know, with pastel, you're not necessarily drawing as you are just kind of like massing out areas with color, you know. And so let's see here. Just keeping it very light. Do I want it like that? Or do I want this color? No, that's too bright. I think I'll use this kind of like off-white tone for the reflection on the water for now. And I can erase that later on. But I think for now I'm just going to add like this off-white just for funsies. Then somewhere around here there's some off-white happening. And there we go. And we're just going to add more of, I think it's this color. Yep, this color here. I'm going to use the same color on this whole area right around here. And I'm just going to be very loose with it. I'm not going to, as I said, define anything. It's just going to look like one color. And it's going to be, I would say, you could almost argue that it's really sloppy, actually. And as I said, as time goes by, I'm going to slowly dial in the detail and focus on some of the more micro areas, more finer detailed areas of the drawing or of the picture. But at this time, just want to kind of mass it out. That's all I really want to do, you know. So this is a commission I've been working on for quite some time. I've been putting in an hour a day for the past, I don't know, a while. It's been a long minute, and I've even done 5 studies of this drawing. And honestly, I don't know if I benefited from doing 5 studies, other than just like, looky me, I got 5 studies done of the drawing. I think I would have benefited more if I had did 5 studies at the scale that I would be drawing it at. I think that would have helped me out a lot more with getting an understanding of how I want to approach the drawing. But each one of those studies took approximately 30 minutes to an hour to do. So I did 5 of them, and I did at least 5 studies. And I know I had anticipated on doing like 1 study at the scale, but after spending so much time just trying to get this, I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and consider this my final piece. I don't have the luxury of providing to my client like study after study. You know, they're not going to appreciate me putting in the extra effort. They just want the final product. And I don't think they'd understand the idea of like, oh, you did all this extra work. And the reason why is like, well, you don't want to do the extra work, but you sometimes have to, especially when you're doing something that you're not really, is not in your wheelhouse. And honestly, this is one of the crux of being like an all-around artist, where you do kind of like a little bit of everything. One of the crux of having to be an artist that you kind of do just like a little bit of everything is people tend to think that you can do everything well, or not even do everything well. They just think that you can do everything. And I'm not saying I can do everything. I'm just like, I can do everything semi-decent. So I can do a landscape drawing pretty decently. I can do a portrait drawing pretty decently. I can do things kind of decently, but I'm not like an expert at it. And because I'm not an expert at it, it's always, it's very foreign to me. It's like a foreign type of drawing. It's not second nature. It's not like those artists you see on TikTok or Instagram that all they do is the figure, you know, all they do is pinup models. All they do is landscapes. All they do is past portraits. All they do is still lifes. You know, all they do is abstract work. All they do is hyperrealism. You know, you don't see them do anything else. And if you do, if they do anything else, they typically don't show it because they're like, this is not. Because I think the reason why is they don't show it is because it goes off brand, and that's kind of weird to me. That's kind of weird. So they're just kind of like, it's not on brand for them, you know? If that makes any sense. So all of this is going to be like a green. And once I get all this in, I am going to start another go around where I start from the top and then slowly go back down again, and then maybe go down again. So like 3 passovers essentially, where I just kind of slowly just dial in certain things, clean up certain things, and give me the opportunity to kind of clean up things that I missed, correct things that I messed up, and to slowly add in more detail in areas and to add color in spots that I kind of missed, you know. And so that's what I'll tend to do is I'll just kind of go over it and give it a couple passovers and then call it a day. But it is what it is, and here we are. So I'm going to be doing this for roughly an hour. I'm going to work on it for 30 minutes on TikTok, take a little break, get some water, and then come back to it for another 30 minutes. And then I got to go ahead and do some other things. I got some other commission that I'm going to invest about 2 hours in before the night is over. And once I do that, I will go to bed, or that will be the end of my night, and that will be it. And that will be a successful night. Do I have any dark green? I don't think I have any dark green. Maybe I have some dark green in my, I don't know. In my, I don't know, my batch of pastels. Who sees? Who knows? But I need some dark green. I need like some dark green here, and I think I have it in my other set. Anyways, whatever. What are you gonna do about it? You know? Okay, so 30 minutes on this, an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, and then 2 hours on my other drawing. And that will make for 3 hours for the day. I've been trying to hit 3 hours a day. I think the big goal, big future goal, is to hit like 4. And then maybe I would, big goal, big goal would to top out at 5 hours a day. I think 5 hours would be like the limit. And that would be like already, that's already basically impossible at this point in time. Like for real, I don't see myself doing 5 hours. 5 hours. But 3 hours is really hard. You know? It's like 3 hours for me is I'm just like brute forcing it. I'm forcing myself to get it in, to get the drawing in. I know right here I want to find a darker green. That's what I want. I want a darker green. But at this point, I think I'll just be fine with well, there's a little bit like a yellow here. Maybe like a little yellow line here. Kind of put something like that. And then over here, it's not necessarily yellow, it's like a bright green, but I'm gonna make this into a yellow so that it pops out a little bit more. And then I might add a little hint of green. Right now, this is the closest color that I have. That's popping out from my palette of my palette of colors I have. So it's like a yellowish green over this area, and then it gets really bright around there. Like it gets bright, but like with a different, like a different green. This green might be too bright comparatively. Maybe I might use a little bit of this, a little bit of this green here. Even then, that feels a little too dark. We'll just go back to the bright green for now and work with it. And then we'll come back to it maybe a little bit later. But as of right now, I think we'll be fine with just kind of using a little bit of green here and there. Just kind of adding some flicks of green here. Now, I think what I might do for now is I might leave this black, even though it's probably like a bluish color. I might just leave it black at the moment. And what I'll do in the meantime is I might use this teal. This teal, where am I at? Let's see. I'll lightly add a little bit of teal. I don't want to press too hard. Again, as I said, I want to kind of leave the surface of the paper showing at this point in time. And then eventually I will start being a little bit more aggressive with the application of my pastel. But I just want to kind of layer these tones onto each other. So I think the teal might be what I want to work with. That might change, but right now teal seems to be the my knee-jerk reaction, my first response to what I want to add in this area. Again, you don't want it to be the same color as the sky because this is supposed to be the reflection on the water, and so we don't want the reflection to be similar to that. And we're just going to add a light layer of teal, as I said, in these small areas. And then there's some areas over here that could be like an off-white. And I'll get to that. Actually, I might even get to that somewhere over here. I think the teal kind of dissipates underneath this white mark. So we'll leave that alone. And then we'll go ahead and use this off-white. And I think we'll put it all the way in this area over here. Lightly, of course. I don't want to over-apply the pastel at first. Because it's not, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it makes it challenging later on to remove. And I'd rather just kind of slowly add it on. Slowly add some stuff like that. And then over here, it's supposed to be kind of like a tealish white, but I'm going to make it kind of white, and then we can, what might happen later on is when I'm working on this, I might blend the teal and white together, or the teal and off-white together at the moment, in the interim. But right now I'm just going to do the teal and this off-white in these little areas, kind of filling in a negative space, like so. And I can get, the thing about the water is I don't have to be super clean with it as I do with this area right here. I'm actually I'm worried about this area. I think I'm going to, while I'm working on this, when I'm working everywhere else, I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to be pursuing this, because I'm not quite sure how I want to do that. I think it might end up being like, I just go over it with like charcoal pencil or something. I don't know. Like I might go over it with like a dark charcoal pencil just so that I can get the lines as crisp as possible. I guess that would technically make it mixed media, you know, because you're using two different types of media. You're using charcoal and pastel. You know, that does technically mean like it's a mixed media piece to some, you know, but it's two different types of dry media, I guess. Yeah, two different types of dry media. And then below it, there is a little bit of off-white that we can always correct later on. I'm not going to be so concerned with this being perfect. I don't mind this being loose. I don't mind the sky being loose. I actually might want to make the clouds actually angular like this, and then leave the sky with a nice blend, but the clouds be angular, and then maybe the landscape and water be a little bit more abstract. I think I can get away with that. But I want the bridge to be fairly precise and clean. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it'd be nice for it to be kind of precise and kind of clean. I'm not really precise. It's not precise enough, but if it was clean, I'd be happy with that. If this is making any sense, I'm making a bunch of just. It's making no sense, sir. Anyways, I think I'm done with that. Let's go ahead and get some more teal. Technically up here it's brighter. It's more like a blue, but I'm gonna just lightly put the teal on top, and then actually what I might do, we might just put a little bit of blue here. It's not bright enough, but just a little bit of blue, and then we can add teal on top of it. It's actually quite bright over here. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna layer like a white on top of this, or like a light blue mixed with some teal or something. I've been saying teal a lot. Teal. Just being really loose with it. Not pressing too hard again. As I said, I don't want to like put myself in a corner where I'm not able to make the corrections or make the adjustments that I want later on. Now below here, it's kind of purplish, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of purple. It's probably a darker purple, but I want a little bit of purple right here. That will mix later on. And then maybe even a bit of darker purple as we go a little bit lower. Oops. And just leave it like that for now. And then it's like a bluish, there's like some blue happening here, but I'm just gonna leave it as is. And then we're gonna go ahead and move down here with some more teal all the way over here. It gets like a dark grayish blue over here. So what I might do is I might make this gray that I can put blue on top, like a dark gray. A dark gray on there. Gray. I mixed gray and blue together. Adding this off-white here, because that's supposed to be a reflection of a cloud, I guess. That reflection of the cloud. And then bring that teal over here. Yeah, so we got that teal right here, and it's going to be moving up. What I think is going to happen, we're going to kind of stop the teal somewhere over here. You know, like right around here, the teal's going to stop. And then up here, we'll use that, we'll use blue. We might even use a light blue and see if I like that a little bit more. I might use the light blue, and then I can knock it down later a tone if I feel like it. Where am I on the screen? Anyways. Wow, oh my gosh. There you go. And then I think after that, we'll just take this blue here. This is like a, no, that's not the blue I want. These aren't the blue. That's not the blue I want. This is like a light blue. And I can change it later on. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend it with other blues. But I wanna make this area rather light because it's really light up on the photo here. And so I wanna make it a little bit lighter. But I'm just gonna kind of scumble it on there. I'm not gonna go too dark, or I'm not gonna press too hard. And I'm gonna be really abstract with it. As I said, I wanna slowly dial in the details later on. But right now, we're not focused on the details. We're just kind of focused on laying out some color so that we can set ourselves up for a little bit more success later on. All right, so this is a darker teal. Yeah, a little bit darker. I'm gonna add this darker teal in this area. A little bit darker teal in this area. Being really loose. Again, you can slowly dial in the details, tighten it up, tighten the drawing up, make it more crisp as time goes on. Add a little bit of purple. And then what I'm gonna do is, let's find a gray, and we're just gonna slowly lay on top a gray over here. Like that. And I think that's starting to work pretty good. Slowly lay a gray. There we go. And then I think over here, we're just going to exaggerate it with like a yellow. Exaggerate with a yellow over here. Like that. And I think I'm gonna be done for a minute. Take a little break for a second, get some water, and then come back for another 30 minutes, and then that's going to be it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day.